What actually did happen on 9/11? What did happen, ladies and gentlemen? The great noticing of all time. What happened on 9/11? Well, we all know that very little of the story makes any sense. So here's an example of why it makes even less sense.
11 is the biggest lie of our lifetime.
You were on site that day. You believe it may have been a false flag?
Yes, that's correct. It's obvious to me that Building 7 was a controlled demolition because
I want people to understand that if there is one thing that no matter how many different ways somebody tries to explain 9/11, the one thing that can never be fully explained without somebody saying this makes absolutely no sense is Building 7. It's always been the red herring. It always will be. It looked like a missile hit the Pentagon in a part of the Pentagon where they were trying to destroy certain files, not a plane. It looks like a fireball or a firebomb of some kind hit Shanksville, Pennsylvania, probably not a plane. It looks to me like they could have intercepted both, not one, but both planes heading for the Twin Towers. But they didn't. Stand down order. But the one thing we can prove is that Building 7 collapsed from a controlled demolition because there is simply no other explanation. And once you conclude, much like the fourth shot with JFK, once you conclude that Building 7 was a controlled demolition, you must conclude that 9/11 was a conspiracy, not a tragic event, which it was, that was done without pretense, that wasn't done as an inside job. Once you draw that conclusion, the floodgates open up.
the building collapses from the bottom down. For a building to collapse uniformly, which the video show, all the load-bearing columns would have had to have failed simultaneously. Unlike the Twin Towers collapsed from the top down. That's a progressive collapse.
Sure.
The trade centers were unique in that they were designed to withstand the impact of a jet. I've been involved with heavy construction for over 30 years, been involved with the constructions of high-rise steel frame buildings in Manhattan. I've worked on bridges, and I know what goes into these buildings. The outer skeleton of the building, the outer columns was like a fishnet, and you had these inner core columns, which was substantial, thick steel beams to withstand 4 or 5 times what the loads were. The engineers always over-design a building, and they examined the dust, and they found what they call thermitic material, which is like
You know how long they've probably been having to suppress this statement? Explosives found in World Trade Center dust. You know who was one of the loudest people when it came to this? Abby Martin. Abby Martin was a crusader for 9/11 truth for many years, and they came after her very hard. She changed her tune to an extent, but to this day, she's still one of the very best I've seen. And if you look into the RT America archives, there's probably some information that could still be pulled today, assuming that it can still be found. Remember when RT America got shut down? Remember when Tom Hartman completely changed his tune? I remember. And so now, many years later, the truth is really starting to find its way out, even though it's always been there. I was suspicious. I was too young at the time to fully understand, but I was suspicious as soon as it turned into we're going into Iraq. As soon as that happened, I knew something wasn't adding up. And that was less than a year later. So even as a 19-year-old, I knew something was very wrong. Imagine what we know now.
explosive incendiary was in the dust samples, and that's documented. There were reports of the buildings were undergoing an extensive elevator renovation in the 2 or 3 years prior to. All kinds of workers, they had access to the cores of the building. And on the day of the attack, the elevator company would not assist in the operations of the elevators. And it was the elevator company. It subsequently went out of business, and a couple of years after that, you have sworn testimonies from firefighters regarding explosions in the building. They were suppressed, just like Building 7 was ignored in the 9/11 Commission report. It's not in there.
What do you think?
This also gets back to not just the suppression of what happened with Building 7 or the explosives. This also gets back to the heart of what I have always believed is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to Israel. And the fact that Larry Silverstein and Howard Lutnick have never faced proper justice. Their involvement is too obvious. And even though now it's pretty clear that they knew something, kind of like a lot of these stories all come full circle. Kind of like Scheinberg making billions off of poker stars, even though it was a scam operation for years. Well, 9/11 was a scam operation too. It made Silverstein a lot of money, made Lutnick a lot of money. And all that it took was thousands of dead bodies. And the war on terror that produced millions of dead bodies. But hey, to get billions of dollars, you'd be amazed how far people will go in order to get it, especially on behalf of a foreign nation to start the war on terror.
Al-Qaeda's role in all of this was?
I think Al-Qaeda is made up. The FBI came out, I believe it was 2006, and actually said, this is verifiable, I had no concrete evidence linking Osama bin Laden with 9/11. Osama bin Laden worked for the Central Intelligence Agency in Afghanistan. He helped us fight the Russians when they were in Afghanistan. CIA helped orchestrate 9/11. It was their plan.
That's all true. Mujahideen, Russians in Afghanistan, 1987, 1988. Saddam Hussein was our friend too until he wasn't anymore, until he wasn't useful anymore. So when you wonder why Tyler Oliveira is getting the rug pulled out from underneath him financially, much as our channel has been heavily suppressed and the same applies, this is the risk you take by covering the stories that really matter. And that's why we do what we do.